Okay, good morning. We are starting our next unit in math. Thank you to my friends who are quiet because I am talking. Let's be courteous and respectful. We are starting our next unit in math. We are working with our coordinate planes and graphing. So the graphs we're working with now isn't like the bar graph and the line graph. We are actually graphing on the graph paper with the X and Y axes and plotting our points. So here is some key terms that we're going to need to know for this unit. First is the coordinate plane. So the coordinate plane is a system formed by the intersection of a horizontal number line called the x-axis. So the x-axis goes horizontally, and a vertical number line called the y-axis. So the y goes up and down, the x goes across. The origin is that circle point right in the middle whose coordinates are 0, 0. So it's 0 on the x, 0 on the y. The quadrants are the 4 regions that make up our coordinate plane. So in quadrant 1, in quadrant 1, up here, it's going to be a positive x and a positive y. So we've got positive numbers going to the right, positive numbers going up. In quadrant 2, we have negative x. Put it down here. So the x is going to be a negative number. Going to the left of the 0 is negative, but our y's are still going up, so those are still positive. In quadrant 3, we have the x's are going to the left, so they're negative, and our y's are going down, so they are negative. So we have a negative x and a negative y. And in quadrant 4, we have our x's are going to the right, so they are positive, but our y's are going down, so the y's are negative. So that's how our quadrants look. You will see this on the math test that comes up in January. They do talk about quadrants. They talk about the positives and the negatives and where would you find those. So it's important to keep that in mind. We have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. An ordered pair is that x, y that can be used to represent a point on the coordinate plane. The first number is x. The second number is the y coordinate. So x, then y. X comes first in the alphabet. X comes first in the coordinate pair. So think about the alphabet, X, Y, Z. So think about the alphabet when you're looking at your coordinates. X first, then the Y. The X coordinate is the first number in an ordered pair representing the point on the coordinate plane. The Y coordinate is the second number in an ordered pair representing a point on the coordinate plane. And then a scatter plot is the graph of a set of data pairs, X, Y, which is a collection of points in the coordinate plane. We're not going to hit on that as much because right now we're just more focused on being able to plot all of our points and graphing them. So those are all of those key terms. I know we talked about it at the very beginning of the year when we were doing the power standards test from 5th grade. We had the graphing on there, and you'll notice I have it on my number board, my number word wall, not number, math word wall. We have our coordinate plane. You can see the two positives, the negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative. So we are going to be talking about these things, talking about the origin, that 0, 0. And as this unit goes on, we're going to be talking about our function tables and how we use those to graph our coordinates. So we've got a lot that's coming up, and this is a short chapter, so we go through it kind of quickly. Unfortunately, we have Christmas break in the middle of it. So we're going to do some of it this week, and we'll do some of it when we come back, and then we're going to have a test right away. So it's a short chapter with only a few objectives, and I think it's 5 objectives. So it's going to go quick. Zoe.
How many objectives are we going to do this week?
I know we're going to do objectives today and tomorrow, and I need to check with Mrs. Gregory on how we are shifting around our schedule because of the Advent stuff happening. So definitely today and tomorrow we will do objectives. Maybe Wednesday, I'm not sure. All right, let's look at what else we're doing with that coordinate plane today. Let me try to scroll this up a little bit more. Oh, did I accidentally do that? Okay. So we are going to graph some plots. I have some graph paper on your paper there for you. And we're going to graph some places on there, some points. So the first one that we're going to do, it says name the ordered pair that represents the point for A. So I'm going to put A on here. So on your paper, see if you can figure out what point A is. I'm going to pause the recording while I answer the phone. Maybe. Hello? He is in Miss Sorrentino's room right now. I told him to watch the clock, so he called down there. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so who can tell me what the coordinates are for A? So look at what my X would be and what my Y would be. What do you think, Ryan?
3, 4.
Yeah, the X is 3. We went over 1, 2, 3, and then we went up 1, 2, 3, 4. So our coordinates for A looks like that. 3, 4, X, Y. So let's look at where our B is going to be. What are the coordinates for B? What do you think, Josie? Yeah, -2, -3. Because the X on the X-axis, we went over 2, and then we went down 3 on that Y-axis. So it's -2, -3. Our C is going to be right up here. What coordinates do we have for C? Ryan?
-4 and 4.
Yeah, -4, +4. So we went over on that x-axis all the way to -4, and then we go up to our +4. So C is -4, +4. And then D is going to be right here. What coordinates do we have for D? Josie? Yeah, so our X goes over to that +2, and then Y goes down 2. So +2, -2. Very good. So are we seeing how we're finding those coordinates? You always look at where you're going left or right. That's your first number. And then up or down is your second number. So we have the X, then the Y. And you can always see on the graphs, we have it labeled. The X-axis goes left, right. The y-axis goes up, down. All right, finding the segment length and area. So find the length, width, and area of a rectangle ABCD. Length is x coordinate. So we want the absolute value of our x and our y. So I am going to put some plots on here for our x and y, or we're going to do some new. That's not moving up. Let me move this up just a little bit more. And it won't move up anymore for me. Splendid. All right, so in order to find the segment lengths and area, I'm going to plot some new points for us. So A is here. B is here. Oops. C is here. And D is going to be here. So the first thing we want to do is find out our coordinates. So to find the length, we want to find the length, the width, the height, and the area of the rectangle. So we can see here's our rectangle. If we were to connect all of those points together, we see there's an area. And we know to find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So we need to find what the length and the width are. So that way we can determine what the area is. So to find the length of our rectangle, we're going to take the x coordinate of A and the x coordinate of B. So we want the absolute value. So we want to find the difference. We want to subtract A from B, but we want the absolute value. So we're going to take the larger number and subtract the smaller number. So our x coordinate is 4, positive 4, and our A is a negative 4. So what is that length? So not subtract, I'm sorry, we're going to add it. If we have the absolute value, who remembers what absolute value is? Does anybody remember what that absolute value is? We learned about it at the beginning of the year, right? Kind of remembering a little bit. Absolute value means we don't do positive or negative. Okay, so we want the absolute value of A and the absolute value of B. So the absolute value would be 4 plus 4. So what is our length? 8. So the length is 8. So we went from A to B. Now, the easy way to do it is to count it. Okay, so you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That way you know for sure you got the right number. But just know it's the absolute value of what your coordinate for x coordinate for A is and the absolute value of the coordinate for B. You can just count it. Sometimes we have bigger sizes, so it would be a lot of counting. So you want to be careful with that. Then we want the width, which would be the y coordinates. So we go from the y from A, the y coordinate of A and the y coordinate of B. So our y of A, I don't think I wrote that right on the paper. I think I went too fast. Should be the y coordinate of D. So change that on your paper, please. That should be a D. Doesn't make sense to go A to B because that is the length, not the width. I went too fast when I made this. So it should be the y coordinate of D. So cross that off and put a D right here. My apologies. So we wanted the width goes from the A to the D, up and down on that y-axis. So again, we want those absolute values. So the absolute value where A is at is a positive 2, and where D is at is the negative 2. So how much distance is it from A to D? Josie? 4. Because we went 1, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are we doing absolute value though?
Yeah.
Then wouldn't it? Oh wait. Oh, I get that's 2. So yeah.
Okay. So now we want to find the area. The area is the length times the width. So 8 times 4. So what is the area of our rectangle? Bria? 32. So the area would be 32. So if we counted all of the squares inside of our rectangle, there are 32 of them. So instead of having to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Instead of having to do counting all of them, you find the length, you find the width, and you multiply them. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we don't have to go and count each one individually. So now we have making that scatter plot. So the scatter plot, let me erase this. Our scatter plot, we've got our table there that tells us age and height. What we're going to do is we're going to draw the first quadrant of a coordinate plane. So this is 0. We've got 1, 2, 3. We want that y-axis. And actually, I'm looking at the numbers in here, and I'm noticing we probably don't want to go by 1s because our numbers get really big. So we're going to skip by 5s. Same thing going up. We'll skip by 5s going up the y-axis. We know this is the y, this is the x. This is going to be our height going up the y. So we see the height in our table here. That's going to be on the y-axis. So the x is going to be our age. So we're going to look at the age. That is our x. We're going to put that number first, and then the height is our y, and we're going to plot them where they would fall in our coordinate plane. So if we look at 0, 0, if you're 0 years old, your height is 0. We would plot you right here at the 0. Then if you're 1 years old, you might be 2 feet, because that's measurement is in feet. So measurement is in feet. So if you're at 1 year old, you might be 2 feet tall. 6 years old, you'd be 4 feet tall. So we're going to go to where the 6 is and go up to where the 4 would be. At 10 years old, you'd be 8 feet tall. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Right. 8 feet. Only 13 or 14 feet. 39 years, 34 feet. Oh my god.
So this is really...
Oh.
pine tree.
Oh,
So this is a pine tree. So this is for a pine tree. When the pine tree is 6 years old, it would be 4 feet tall. When it's 10 years old, it would be 8 feet tall. So 10 years old, we would go up to 8 feet. 13 years old, it would go up to 14 feet. Shh, friends. 18 years old is going to go up to 16 feet. 21 years old, it's 23 feet. 32 years old would be 31 feet. 36 years old would be 34 feet. And 39 years old would be 34 feet. So it's not a straight line. It's not growing at the same constant rate. So it kind of goes up and down a little bit of curves going on there. What conclusion can we draw using this data? What conclusion can we draw from that? What do you think, Kira?
pine tree stopped growing when they're 36 years old.
Yeah, when it's 36 years old, it stopped growing. That's a good conclusion. What else could we say looking at all of the data, Brielle? Okay. How about as the pine tree gets older, its height increases, okay, until it hits a certain age. But as it's going up, as the age goes up, its height is going up. Those are all valid conclusions to draw from this data. How do you guys feel about the XY coordinates and graphing on the coordinate plane? We will get, this is the first lesson of this unit. Okay, we've done some graphing before, so this is not new. We will get more in depth. We're going to be doing these function tables and learning how to graph those. So it does get a little bit more involved as we go through this unit. So with that, we're going to say our assignment for today is our workbook page 81, 82. So workbook page 81, 82. We are going to say goodbye to our friends at home and hope that you have a good day.